70-year period, and then the king makes the proclamation concerning Jerusalem. That's Cyrus, that's Trump. 70 years, then it comes to the end, then the king makes the proclamation concerning Jerusalem. It wasn't just about Israel at Cyrus. He literally, listen, what Cyrus did in that proclamation is he actually recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So here you've got 70 years in the Bible. At the end of 70 years, the king arises who makes a proclamation that recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
On the what does Trump do on the 70th anniversary of the rebuilding of Israel? He recognizes Jerusalem.
Like Cyrus.
As Cyrus did. Cyrus was a 70-year.
Therefore, I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver. Today, I am delivering.
He did the same thing at the same time. And here's another thing about it. You got 70 years, but not just that. Let me tell you something else. What happened 70 years ago? The UN votes Israel, okay? They vote a division of the land, Arab and Jews. But when they do that, they also do something else. They separate Jerusalem from the Jewish people at the same time. They said Jerusalem will not be of Israel, okay? So that's the time that the world actually separated Jerusalem at the same time. So now it's this, listen, in the Bible, in Cyrus' time, what was that 70 years? It was 70 years from the Jewish people being separated from Jerusalem, and then Cyrus is the first recognition of Jerusalem. So what happened 70 years ago, that not only was Israel voted on, but also Jerusalem was separated, and no power has ever undone that until Trump. 70 years, now it's undone. Now the first power says, no, Jerusalem is of Israel. That's exactly the pattern of Cyrus.
And Cyrus did it in the first year of his reign?
Well, it says in the first year of his coming to world power, it says he made it. So Trump did it in the first year of his coming to world power.
The proclamation.
This is incredible.
And notice something with that first year. He made it just about by 30 days. It was in November. It was in December. So he just made it, but God had made sure it was in the first year. Listen, again, God is perfect. God is on the throne.
Yes.
He has no intention of vacating that throne. Right. Everything is in his hands.
Amen.
And his purposes will continue no matter what's happening in the world. You just make sure you're in the center of his purposes, and you will prevail. When you're there in Israel, you do sense something.
You do.
And the thing is that, you know, when that declaration came, I mean, Israel loves Donald Trump. Most of the Israelis, they see him like Cyrus because of this. And there's a sense, and remember when these declarations from Cyrus to Truman to the Balfour, when it first came out, you didn't see the full effect of the thing. It starts, but each case, the effect would keep going and going and going. It would be revealed over the years. So what Donald Trump did, same thing. This thing went forth, but the full force of what this is all about is going to be revealed in the days to come. And you can sense that. That's why the Temple Mount people are printing up the coins for the temple, you know, because that's also linked to all this. When we talk about there has to be a temple again. I was at the Western Wall at the 70th anniversary, and there was just worship and praise and all those things. But all these things coming together now with Trump, I mean, it's amazing.
Today we're going to talk about timing.
Yes. Yes.
Today.
We spoke last time about the mystery with the 70 years in the Bible. At the end of the 70 years comes the proclamation, and from Cyrus back then, and then we saw in our own day, God did it the same way, 70 years of Israel, proclamation, Jerusalem. But it's even more exact because when Israel was voted on in the United Nations, it was at the very end of November and 1947. So if you fast forward 70 years, that was the week. The anniversary week, now we're not just talking about years, we're talking about the anniversary week of that was ended on December 6th, 2017. December 6th, 2017 is the date that Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem. On the exact, the end of the anniversary week of the 70 years. And he didn't know what I'm sure he wasn't looking saying, let me work this all out. When I was here, we were speaking about the Shemitah, we were speaking about the Jubilee. Remember, several times I spoke about it. what I said, and I'm not saying that I know these things, but God knows, but I said that, and not that God has to do anything, but in the next Jubilee, that if something is going to happen according to the mystery, it will involve Jerusalem, it will involve the city of Jerusalem, and the restoration, establishing ultimately to the Temple Mount. Now, this is very important because we talked about the Jubilee before, but this is very important. The Jubilee, just so people realize this, there's two reckonings of the Jubilee, and one reckoning is the Hebrew reckoning of on a 49-year cycle. Okay, that I won't go into it. But that's one reckoning. The other reckoning is a standard 50-year cycle on the Western calendar. And so it is on this 50-year calendar that these prophetic things have taken place, and has to do with everything we just saw. Now the question is, so what happened this past year has everything to do with the mystery of the Jubilee. And just for a quick thing for those who don't know, a very quick thing, what is the Jubilee? On the Jubilee, whatever you lost, you get it back. You lost your home, you get it back. You lost your ancestral land, you get it back. You return home, you return to your family, you get reconciled. The possession that was yours, your inheritance, you get it back on the 50th year. Now, it was given to the Jewish people. Now, the Jewish people, it's amazing because the Jewish people are the people who more than any nation lost everything. They lost their land, they lost their ancestral possession, lost Jerusalem, lost their inheritance for 2,000 years. So if they're going to get it back, it's going to be a Jubilee. It's going to be linked to, God's going to link it to the Jubilee, because that's what it is. So for 2,000 years, the Jewish people wander the earth, and the first big thing is the Balfour Declaration, when Britain wins, in World War I, they win Jerusalem under General Allenby. It was under Muslim control for ages. Britain is for the Jewish people. We mentioned they say now there'll be a Jewish homeland. So here's the first restoration. When does it take place? 1917. 1917, we won't go into it, is a year of Jubilee. They shall return home, you shall regain your possession. Jewish people start coming all the more from all over the world, coming back home to their possession. Now it declares, Jubilee is how often? We go by the 50-year calendar. Fast forward, 1917, add 50 years. Where does it take you? It takes you to the year 1967. Next Jubilee year, 1967. What did they get? The Jewish people had Israel, but they didn't have the restoration to Jerusalem. It's the ultimate inheritance, which again, we're on the anniversary of it right now. So here, 1967, what happens? The Arab nations around them, we mentioned, they say we're going to now have a war of annihilation. We're going to wipe them out. And so Israel says we got to strike first. They do. 6-day war. June 7th, the Israeli soldiers enter through the Lion's Gate, and for the first time since Rome, since the Roman Empire, Israeli soldiers are walking the streets of the ancient city. They come to the Western Wall, they weep and pray, and Israel comes back to their inheritance. Second Jubilee, they are restored to their ancestral possession, Jerusalem. So that is now, that's the second. God is so perfect in that Jubilee. But what they didn't get in the Jubilee, when you return home, when you get back your land, it's not just you go back and you go back to the land, but you are given the legal right to that land. It's not just that you take it, it's that it is recognized legally. This is now the deed is yours. They didn't have it since 1967. Every nation said, no, even America said, we're not recognizing it. Nobody recognized it, but it's got to come. So that takes you, let's go now to the next Jubilee. Go 50 years. What year does it take you to? 2017. Jubilee, 2017. What happens in the year of Jubilee? Now, for the first time in 2,000 years, the legal recognition of Jerusalem is given. Restoration to the land. God is so perfect. Yeah. And it not only happened in 2017, it happened within 30 days left. I mean, God just puts it right in there. It happened, it has to happen in that time. Sovereignty, legal status. Not only it was the Jubilee of 1967, okay, it was 50 years after 1967, but it's the double Jubilee of 1917. Okay, in other words, it's the double Jubilee of when Allenby liberated Jerusalem in 1917. It was 1917, but when? It was 1917, December. The declaration came in December, the Jubilee, the double Jubilee, the 100-year anniversary. In fact, the liberation of Jerusalem happened when Allenby liberated it, or when it was liberated, right? It was liberated basically in the beginning, like the first week, around the first week of December. Trump's declaration, first week of December. What happens during the year of Jubilee? You know, this happens in the year of Jubilee. This is the shofar. This is the Jubilee shofar. What happens? The trumpet sounds. It sounds in the year of Jubilee. Now, the prophetic year of Jubilee was 2017. Now, what happened in the year of 2017? That was the year that the president came to power. In the year of Jubilee, the trump begins to sound.
Oh, my.
But think about this too. Think about that. What happens in the year of Jubilee? When this shofar sounds, the land goes back to the original owner. So the trump sounded, and the land goes back to the original owner.
Oh.
The trump sounded.
It's incredible.
When the trump sounds, and he sounded to the world, and when the trump sounds, the original owner gets the legal possession of the land. So Trump sounded, and the land got its legal recognition. At the last Jubilee, 1967, the trumpet was sounded at the Western Wall. Remember that? The rabbi who sounded, when they came to the Western Wall, this rabbi sounded the shofar. And he wasn't thinking of Jubilee. But God was. He sounded the Jubilee. And what was the name of the rabbi? The rabbi's name was Rabbi Goren. Okay, Goren. Now we're talking about the Jubilee. The land returns to its original owner, returns to its original state.
Yes.
Okay. They got to the Temple Mount. They were at the Western Wall there. He sounded the Western Wall. Temple Mount's the ultimate. What was the original state of the Temple Mount? The original state of the Temple Mount, it was, remember David bought it? What was it? It was a threshing floor, remember?
Yeah.
Yes.
Threshing floor, but when you read it in the original, it says a threshing floor. It doesn't say threshing floor, it's Hebrew. It's called the Goren. So it's Rabbi Threshing Floor. Rabbi Goren, he the one who sounded the shofar, his name was identifying that the Jubilee returns to its original, the land goes to its original state. The original state was Goren, was threshing floor, and Rabbi Goren, Rabbi Threshing Floor, sounds the trumpet. And now we have President Trumpet. Now we have President Trumpet. So God, in each one, he has somebody, and the name is also part of his mystery.